The battle above Kithara lasted 6 hours. When it ended, something had changed in the galaxy forever. Human, Vectari, and Zephyrian ships had fought together and won against the extremist fleets from both alien species. But the victory came, with a price. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the damaged command center of their temporary base. The attack had destroyed most of their equipment, but they had survived. More importantly, they had proven that cooperation between the three species was possible. "We cannot stay here," said Commander Thessarian, his crystal form flickering with worried colors. "The extremists will send more ships." War Leader Nexus agreed. "My people and Thessarian's people will both declare us traitors now. We need a new place to continue our work." Jake had an idea. "What if we used our colony ship? The UES New Horizon has everything we need, and it can move to different locations." 3 weeks later, the New Horizon became the galaxy's strangest research station. Captain Rachel Stone commanded the massive ship as it traveled through empty space between star systems. Inside its laboratories, beings from 3 different species worked together for the first time in thousands of years. Dr. Ben Clark led the most important project. His laboratory was filled with pieces of Vectari crystal technology and Zephyrian biomachines. With him worked Maya Lewis, an energy expert, and Dr. Carl Jung, who studied living machines. "Look at this," said Maya, pointing to a device on the work table. "When we connect the Vectari energy crystal to the Zephyrian bioprocessor, the power output increases by 300%. Dr. Jung was equally excited. "And the bioprocessor becomes more stable when it has crystal energy flowing through it. They help each other work better." Commander Thessarian and War Leader Nexus watched the experiments with amazement. They had spent 3,000 years trying to destroy each other's technology, never thinking about combining it. "Our ancestors were fools," said War Leader Nexus. "We could have been exploring the stars together instead of fighting over them." In another part of the ship, General Sam Mitchell worked with alien military officers to develop new battle tactics. The general was a practical man who had spent his career studying war, but he had never seen anything like what the humans could do. Linda Foster, his tactical analyst, showed him computer models of recent battles. "General, look at these patterns. Human commanders can predict battle outcomes with 85% accuracy, while Vectari and Zephyrian commanders only achieve 60%. "Why is that?" asked General Mitchell. "We think differently," Linda explained. "Both alien species have been fighting the same way for centuries. They follow old patterns. Humans see new possibilities because we have no old habits to break." The biggest breakthrough came from Tony Chen in the communications department. Tony had been working day and night to improve translation between the 3 species. His new system was much better than the simple devices they had used before. "Test it now," Tony told his assistant as he connected the new translator to the ship's computer system. Within seconds, all 3 species could talk to each other as easily as if they spoke the same language. The Vectari light patterns, Zephyrian, biomechanical sounds, and human speech all became clear to everyone. "This is incredible," said Commander Thessarian, his lights flashing with joy. "For the first time, I can understand exactly what you are thinking, not just a rough translation." But their success was creating new problems. Back in their home territories, both alien species were becoming more angry about the cooperation with humans. The extremist leaders saw the human influence as a disease that was weakening their people's will to fight. Vectari supremacist Valerian was one of the most powerful crystal beings in their government. He believed that the Vectari were superior to all other life forms and that peace with the Zephyrians was impossible. On the other side, Zephyrian war champion Gorix commanded millions of biomechanical soldiers. He had been created specifically for war and could not imagine any other purpose for his existence. These 2 enemies did something that shocked everyone. They began working together in secret. Their goal was to destroy human influence and return both species to their ancient war. The plan they created was evil and clever. Using stolen technology from both sides, they built a weapon that looked like Zephyrian biotech, but was powered by Vectari crystals. Then they used this weapon to attack a major Vectari cultural center, killing thousands of innocent crystal beings. The attack was perfectly designed to look like the Zephyrians had used human-taught technology improvements to build a superweapon. Evidence was planted to make it appear that humans had helped design the attack. Lisa Grant was the first to detect the lies when she analyzed the communication records from the attack. "Captain, something is wrong with the official reports. The timing doesn't match what I'm seeing in the data." Jake studied her findings with growing anger. "They're trying to frame us. Someone wants both alien species to blame humans for this attack." Dr. Ben Clark examined pieces of the weapon that had been recovered from the attack site. "This is definitely a combination of both technologies, but it's built wrong on purpose. Someone wanted it to be obvious that both species' technology was used. Within days, both Vectari and Zephyrian governments officially declared humanity to be enemies of both species. Wanted posters with human faces appeared throughout alien space. The moderate leaders like Commander Thessarian and War Leader Nexus were also declared traitors. "We have to go into hiding," said Captain Rachel Stone during an emergency meeting. "Both alien fleets are hunting for us now." Jake felt angry and sad at the same time. After everything they had accomplished, the extremists had found a way to turn both species against humanity. "Where can we go? We don't have any allies left." But Commander Thessarian had an idea. "There are many civilian populations in both our species who are tired of the war. They do not believe the lies about humans, but they are afraid to speak up," War Leader Nexus agreed. "If we can reach these people and show them the truth, we might be able to build a real resistance movement." Over the following months, the New Horizon became a secret mobile base for the growing peace movement. They rescued moderate aliens who were being persecuted by their own governments. They shared their technological discoveries with civilian groups who wanted to rebuild instead of destroy. Maya Lewis and Dr. Carl Jung trained alien engineers to build the hybrid technologies that could help heal their war-damaged worlds. Tony Chen taught communication specialists how to use the new translation systems to spread messages of peace. But the humans also had to learn to fight. General Mitchell and Linda Foster worked with alien military defectors to plan raids against extremist weapon factories and propaganda centers. The real test came when Dr. Ben Clark made an incredible discovery. "I think I know why humans can interface with both alien technologies so easily," he told Jake excitedly. "Why? Human brain. Patterns are naturally flexible in a way that Vectari and Zephyrian brains are not. We can think like both species at the same time. That's why we can see solutions they miss." This discovery led to the development of human-piloted hybrid fighters. Sarah Kim became the first test pilot for these new ships that combined the best of all three species' technologies. "It's like flying a living crystal," Sarah reported after her first test flight. "I can feel both the Vectari energy systems and the Zephyrian biocontrols responding to my thoughts." The hybrid fighters were faster and more maneuverable than any pure alien design. For the first time since the war began, the peace movement had ships that could outfight the extremists. But Valerian and Gorix were not finished. They had spent months building a massive combined fleet to destroy the human infection once and for all. The final battle was coming, and everyone knew it. 5 years after the Battle of Meridian Nebula, President Helen Murphy stood on the observation deck of Unity Station and watched ships from dozens of different species dock at the massive spaceport. The station orbited the planet that had started the Great War 3,000 years ago, but now it was the center of galactic cooperation instead of conflict. Helen smiled as she watched a group of young beings walk past the window. Vectari crystal children played with Zephyrian biomechanical youth, while human kids taught them both how to play Earth games. It was a sight that would have been impossible to imagine just a few years ago. "Madam President, the morning briefing is ready," said her assistant, walking up behind her. Helen turned away from the window. Being the first human president of the Galactic Cooperation Council was not an easy job, but it was the most important work she had ever done. In the conference room, representatives from all three species sat around a circular table. The design was important because it meant no one species was more important than the others. Commander Thessarian, now the Vectari Prime Minister, sat to Helen's right. War Leader Nexus, who had become the Zephyrian Chancellor, sat to her left. "Let's start with the reconstruction reports," said Helen. "Kyle, how are the rebuilding projects going?" Kyle Roberts had once been an engineer aboard the New Horizon. Now he was the director of Galactic Reconstruction, in charge of rebuilding worlds damaged by 3,000 years of war. His latest report was encouraging. "We've completed restoration work on 47 star systems," Kyle reported. "The hybrid technology teams are working faster than we expected, combining Vectari energy systems with Zephyrian biotech and human. Coordination allows us to rebuild entire cities in months instead of years." Dr. Ashley Brooks, who led the Galactic Health Initiative, shared her own good news. "The medical treatments for war damage are working well. Dr. Mark Thompson's team has successfully stabilized crystal degradation in 90% of Vectari patients. Nurse coordinator Jamie Davis reports that Zephyrian biorejection syndrome is nearly eliminated." Helen felt proud of what they had accomplished, but she knew there was still much work to do. "What about the economic situation?" Eric Anderson, the trade coordinator, opened his datapad. "The new trade networks are operating at full capacity. Casey Moore's logistics teams have established supply routes to every inhabited system. Danny Wright's resource analysis shows that cooperative sharing is producing 30% more wealth than the old war economy ever did. But not everything was perfect. Admiral Patricia Cruz, who commanded the Joint Peacekeeping Force, had some concerning reports. "We still have trouble in the Outer Rim territories," Admiral Cruz explained. "Some former extremist groups are trying to restart local conflicts. Last week, my ships had to stop a group of Vectari separatists from attacking a mixed-species colony." "How serious is the threat?" asked War Leader Nexus. "Not very serious," Admiral Cruz replied. "The troublemakers don't have much support. Most people prefer peace to war, but we need to stay alert." Helen nodded. They had known that building lasting peace would take time. 3,000 years of hatred could not be erased overnight. After the meeting, Helen walked through the residential sections of Unity Station. The diversity still amazed her. Vectari families lived next door to Zephyrian clans, with human neighbors, on both sides. The children who grew up here would be the first generation in thousands of years to know peace as normal. She stopped at a small park where an elderly man sat feeding strange alien birds. It was Captain Jake Morrison, now retired but still helping with diplomatic missions. Helen sat down beside him. "Do you ever think about how this all started?" Helen asked. Jake smiled and threw more food to the birds. "You mean when we accidentally flew into the middle of a space battle? That feels like a lifetime ago." "We were just explorers looking for new worlds," Helen said. "We had no idea we would end up changing the entire galaxy." "I think that's exactly why we succeeded," Jake replied. "We didn't have any old ideas about how things should be done. We just saw problems and tried to solve them." Their conversation was interrupted by an excited young voice. "President Murphy! Captain Morrison!" They turned to see Sarah Kim running toward them. Sarah was no longer the test pilot who had flown the first hybrid fighter. Now she was Admiral Kim, commander of the new Joint Exploration Fleet. "What's got you so excited, Sarah?" asked Jake. "The Andromeda mission is approved." The council voted. "This morning, we're going to explore the next galaxy over, and we're going together." Helen felt a thrill of excitement. The Andromeda galaxy was millions of light years away, but their new hybrid technology made the journey possible. More importantly, it would be the first major exploration mission with crews from all three species working as equals. "Who's going to command the expedition?" asked Jake. "Admiral Lisa Grant is leading the fleet," Sarah replied. "She asked me to invite both of you to the launch ceremony next month." Helen and Jake exchanged looks. Lisa Grant had become one of the most respected military leaders in the galaxy. If anyone could lead such an important mission, it was her. 3 weeks later, Helen stood with thousands of other beings at the launch ceremony for the Andromeda expedition. The flagship was called the Convergence, a name that symbolized how the three species had come together. Admiral Grant looked confident as she addressed the crowd through the translation system that Tony Chen had perfected years ago. "This mission represents everything we have learned about working together," she said. "We are not going as three separate species competing with each other. We are going as one people, united in our desire to explore and learn." Helen watched as beings from all three species cheered together. Vectari crystals flashed with joy, Zephyrian biosystems buzzed with excitement, and humans clapped and shouted. The sound echoed through the station like a song of hope. As the Convergence and her escort ships disappeared into hyperspace, Helen thought about the future. The galaxy that had once been torn apart by war was now united in peace. Children who had never known conflict were growing up to become explorers and builders instead of soldiers. But the most important change was in how people thought about each other. Vectari, Zephyrians, and humans no longer saw each other as enemies, or even as allies. They saw each other as family. Dr. Ben Clark, now an old man but still working in his laboratory, had recently made another discovery. He found that children who grew up in mixed species communities could interface with all three types of technology naturally. The next generation would be even better at cooperation than their parents. "The war is truly over," Helen said to herself, as she watched the last of the expedition ships vanish into the stars. Jake Morrison, standing beside her, heard her words and smiled. "No, Helen. The war ended years ago. This is something much better. This is the beginning of a new age of exploration and discovery, where the whole galaxy works together to find new wonders among the stars." As they walked back through Unity Station, Helen saw the truth in Jake's words. Everywhere she looked, beings from different species were working together, learning from each other, and building something greater than any one species could create, alone. The galaxy's deadliest war had become the foundation for its greatest age of peace and cooperation, and it all started because a small group of human explorers refused to accept that an ancient conflict was impossible to solve. The future stretched ahead of them, full of infinite possibilities among the stars. Commander Lisa Grant floated in the pilot seat of her new ship, watching asteroid fields drift past the window. It had been 8 months since humanity was declared an enemy by both alien species. Now they lived like space pirates, hiding in empty regions of the galaxy. But they were not alone. Hundreds of alien civilians had joined them, tired of the endless war that had consumed their lives. The hidden fleet now included 60 ships of all three species, working together in ways that would have been impossible just 1 year ago. "Commander Grant, we're receiving a message from the underground network," reported her communications officer. It was Tony Chen, who had been promoted after his translation breakthrough. Lisa smiled. The underground network was their secret weapon. Amanda White, their diplomatic leader, had spent months building connections with peace groups throughout alien space. Frank Miller, their intelligence officer, had uncovered so much evidence of the conspiracy that even some extremist supporters were starting to doubt the official story. "What's the message, Tony?" 3 more Vectari colonies want to join us. They say their crystal formations are dying because the war has disrupted their energy sources. They need our hybrid technology to survive. Dr. Emma Price looked up from her engineering station. She had been working with Jake Martinez and Captain Rob Taylor to build humanity's first truly independent starships. These vessels used lessons learned from both alien technologies, but followed human design principles. "We can help them," said Dr. Price. "Our new ships carry portable crystal stabilizers. Jake's team figured out how to make them last month." Lisa felt proud of what they had accomplished. Hidden in asteroid fields and abandoned star systems, they had built something neither alien species had managed in 3,000 years of war, a truly cooperative society. But she also knew their time was running short. Intelligence reports from Frank Miller showed that the extremist fleets were getting closer to finding their hidden bases. Valerian and Gorix had combined their forces into the largest war fleet in galactic history, with one goal: destroy every human and human sympathizer in the galaxy. "Commander, incoming message from Captain Morrison," said Tony. Jake's face appeared on the main screen. He looked older and more tired than when they first discovered the alien war, but his eyes still held determination. "Lisa, we've received word from our allies in the Vectari government. Commander Thessarian is ready to make his move. War leader Nexus has also gathered enough support among moderate Zephyrians. It's time." Lisa nodded. They had been planning this moment for months. Both alien species were about to have civil wars as moderates challenged the extremist leadership. The success or failure of these uprisings would determine whether peace had any chance in the galaxy. "What about the combined extremist fleet?" asked Lisa. "That's our job," said Jake grimly. "Intelligence estimates they have over 2,000 ships. We have less than 100, but we have advantages they don't expect." Dr. Price activated her tactical display. "Our hybrid fighters are still unknown to them. Sarah Kim has trained 40 pilots from all 3 species to fly them, and our new capital ships use completely different strategies than traditional alien warfare." The plan was risky, but simple. While the moderate aliens launched their political revolts, the human-led fleet would attack the extremist armada directly. They couldn't win a traditional battle, but they didn't need to. They just needed to prove that the extremists could be defeated. 3 days later, the Battle of Meridian Nebula began. The nebula was a cloud of gas and dust that interfered with long-range sensors, making it perfect for unconventional tactics. Lisa commanded the human fleet from her flagship, a new type of ship that combined Vectari energy shields with Zephyrian bioarmor and human adaptive systems. "Enemy fleet detected," reported the scanner operator. 2,100 ships, just as intelligence predicted. Lisa could see them through the nebula's colorful gases. The extremist fleet was arranged in the traditional formation both species had used for centuries. Crystal ships in rigid geometric patterns, biomechanical ships in organic swarm formations. "They're still thinking like it's the old war," observed Captain Rob Taylor from his position commanding the fighter squadrons. "They expect us to charge at them directly." "Then let's do something they don't expect," said Lisa. "All ships, execute plan surprise." The human fleet split into small groups and disappeared into the thickest parts of the nebula. Using their superior sensors and communication systems, they could coordinate attacks while remaining invisible to the enemy. Sarah Kim led the first strike with her hybrid fighters. They appeared suddenly from the nebula clouds, hit extremist supply ships, and vanished again before the enemy could respond. The attacks continued for hours, striking different parts of the fleet each time. "They're getting frustrated," reported Frank Miller, who was monitoring enemy communications. "Valerian is demanding that his ships break formation to hunt us down." "Good," said Lisa. "Frustrated enemies make mistakes." The real breakthrough came when Dr. Price's engineering teams implemented their most daring plan. They had modified several old cargo ships to emit the same energy signatures as major warships. When these decoy ships appeared at the edge of the nebula, most of the extremist fleet rushed to attack them. "Now," ordered Lisa. While the enemy was distracted by the decoys, the real human fleet struck at the extremist command ships in the center of their formation. Lisa's ship led the attack, its hybrid weapons tearing through shields that had never faced such technology before. Jake Martinez piloted his experimental assault ship directly at Valerian's crystal fortress. The young engineer had designed weapons specifically to disrupt Vectari crystal matrices. When they hit their target, the supremacist leader's ship began breaking apart from the inside. On the other side of the battle, Captain Rob Taylor engaged Gorix's biomechanical dreadnought. The war champion's ship was covered in living armor that could repair damage instantly, but human weapons attacked the biological control systems rather than the armor itself. "Gorix's ship is losing coordination," reported the tactical officer. "The biosystems can't communicate with each other anymore." But the real victory came from an unexpected source. As the battle raged, moderate ships from both alien species began arriving in the nebula. Commander Thessarian's revolution had succeeded in the Vectari territories, and war leader Nexus had taken control of several Zephyrian fleets. "This is Commander Thessarian to all ships," came the message over the communication channels. "The Vectari Republic officially recognizes humanity as our ally and calls for an immediate ceasefire. This is war leader Nexus of the reformed Zephyrian Alliance," came another message. "We stand with our human friends and demand the end of this senseless war." Suddenly, the extremist fleet found itself outnumbered. Ships that had been fighting for Valerian and Gorix began switching sides as their crews realized the war was truly over. Within hours, the largest fleet in galactic history was surrendering to a force less than half its size. Lisa watched from her command chair as extremist ships powered down their weapons one by one. "Tony, send a message to all fleets. Tell them humanity offers full pardons to any crew that lays down their weapons peacefully." "Even after everything they've done?" asked Dr. Price. "Especially after everything they've done," said Lisa. "Someone has to break the cycle of revenge. It might as well be us." As the battle ended, Lisa realized they had achieved something that seemed impossible just 1 year ago. The galaxy's deadliest war was finally over, not because one side had destroyed the other, but because all sides had chosen to work together instead. But ending the war was only the beginning. Now they had to figure out how to build a peace that would last forever. Jake Morrison stood up slowly from his chair. The huge room was filled with thousands of alien beings from across the galaxy. Some looked like giant insects, others like walking trees, and many had shapes that humans could not even imagine. They all turned to look at him with their strange eyes, tentacles, and sensors. For 30 years, Jake had sat in this same chair. He had listened to complaints, solved fights, and helped different alien races work together. Today was different. Today, he was going to say something that would shock everyone in the room. The Galactic Council meeting hall was bigger than 10 football stadiums put together. It floated in space above a beautiful blue planet. Representatives from over 200 different worlds came here to talk about problems and make deals. For decades, humans had been the ones everyone turned to when they could not agree on something. Jake cleared his throat. His voice carried through the air without any machines helping it. The room was built to let every word reach every corner, perfectly. "I have an important message from Earth and all human worlds," he began. The alien beings leaned forward. Some had ears, others had different ways of hearing. All of them wanted to know what the human was going to say. "Starting right now, humans will no longer help solve problems between other races. We will not be mediators anymore. We will not send peacekeepers to stop wars. We will not help negotiate treaties or trade deals between non-human worlds." A sound like thunder rolled through the room. Thousands of aliens started talking, shouting, and making whatever noises their species used when they were upset. Chancellor Vexatar, the leader of the Zephyrian Empire, jumped up from his crystal throne. His body was made of living crystal that changed colors when he felt strong emotions. Right now, those crystals were flashing bright red with alarm, Ambassador Morrison, Vextar said, his voice shaking, you cannot be serious. There are wars happening right now that need human help to stop. The Krillian Dominion and the Althari Republic have been fighting for months. Only humans can make them listen to reason. Jake shook his head. The decision has been made by our government and our people. Humans will still honor the trade agreements we have already signed. We will still sell you our goods and buy yours. But we will not solve your fights anymore. A tall, thin alien with 4 arms stood up. This was Prime Minister Zorf from the Althari Republic. But humans are the only ones who understand how to make peace. You see things that we cannot see. You find solutions that no one else can find. That may be true, Jake said calmly. But humans have decided we need to focus on our own problems now. We have spent too much time fixing everyone else's troubles while our own worlds need attention. Admiral Krex of the Krillian Dominion slammed his massive fist on his metal table. He looked like a cross between a bear and a robot with thick armor covering his body. This is unacceptable. Humans have a duty to help maintain peace in the galaxy. Jake picked up his briefcase and started walking toward the exit. We never signed any agreement that said we had to be your peacekeepers forever. We helped because we wanted to help. Now we choose not to. Wait, shouted dozens of voices in many different languages. The translation machines worked overtime to turn all the alien words into human speech. But Jake kept walking. His footsteps echoed in the sudden quiet that fell over the room. Every alien being watched as the human ambassador left the chamber. They had never seen anything like this before. Humans always stayed to help. Humans always found a way to make things work. The doors closed behind Jake with a soft whisper. The Galactic Council chamber erupted into chaos. On Earth, President Amanda Foster sat in the Oval Office watching the news reports. Every major news channel was showing footage from the council meeting. Some reporters said humans were being selfish. Others said it was about time humans stopped doing all the work for everyone else. Do you think we made the right choice? Asked Secretary of State Lisa Davis. She had worked with Jake Morrison for 15 years and knew how hard this decision was for him. President Foster looked out the window at the Rose Garden. Lisa, we have been the galaxy's babysitters for 3 decades. Every time 2 alien races could not agree on something, they called us. Every time there was a trade dispute, they expected us to fix it. Every time someone started a war, they assumed humans would stop it. But we were good at it, Lisa pointed out. Yes, we were, maybe too good. They forgot how to solve their own problems. They became like children who always run to their parents instead of learning to work things out themselves. In space, Captain Bobby Chen commanded a human observation ship near the edge of Council territory. His job was to watch what happened in alien space and report back to Earth. Within hours of Jake's announcement, Bobby's sensors picked up something troubling. Captain, said Lieutenant Nicole Patterson from the communications station, I am getting reports of fighting near the Krillian-Althari border. 3 separate battles have started in the last 6 hours. Bobby was not surprised. Any requests for human help? 17 so far, all marked as urgent. Send them the standard reply. Tell them humans are no longer available for mediation services. Bobby knew this was just the beginning. For 30 years, the threat of human disappointment had kept many conflicts from starting. Alien races knew that if they started fights, humans would step in and make them feel ashamed of their behavior. Humans had a way of making other species realize they were being childish. Now that safety net was gone. On the planet Zephyr Prime, Chancellor Vexatar called an emergency meeting with his advisors. The crystal beings gathered in their most sacred chamber, their bodies glowing with worry. How do we handle the border dispute with the Mantari Federation without human mediators? Asked one advisor. How do we negotiate the mining rights treaty with the Vorlon Collective? Asked another. Vextar had no answers. For his entire career, whenever his people faced a difficult negotiation, they had simply asked for human help. Humans would listen to both sides, ask the right questions, and somehow find a solution that made everyone happy enough to agree. Send another message to Ambassador Morrison, Vextar ordered. Offer them exclusive trading rights to our crystal mines. But deep down, he knew it would not work. The humans had made their choice, and nothing would change their minds quickly. Across the galaxy, similar emergency meetings were taking place on hundreds of worlds. Species that had relied on human wisdom for decades suddenly found themselves alone with their problems. The age of human diplomacy was over. What would happen next? No one could predict. 6 months after the Battle of Sol, the galaxy had settled into a new rhythm that most species found surprisingly comfortable. The human ships that patrolled Coalition space had become a familiar sight, and the peace they enforced was more complete than anything anyone could remember from the old days. Admiral Zektar was reviewing the monthly security reports when Commander Wright approached his desk with a concerned expression on her face. Her role as liaison director had become one of the most important positions in the coalition government, as she served as the primary contact between human forces and the alien leadership. Admiral, we have a situation developing in the outer rim territories, Wright said, placing a data pad on his desk. Long-range sensors are detecting a massive fleet approaching our space from beyond the galactic edge. Zektar examined the sensor data with growing alarm. The approaching fleet was enormous, easily twice the size of the old Vorthak Armada. But more concerning was the fact that the ships used completely unknown technology. Their energy signatures did not match anything in the Coalition database. How long until they reach our outer defenses? Zektar asked. At their current speed, approximately 72 hours. Admiral, these ships are not from any known galactic civilization. We think they might be from outside our galaxy entirely. The implications were staggering. An extragalactic invasion force was approaching, and despite all their recent victories, Zektar felt the familiar cold fear settling in his stomach. He activated his communication panel to contact Captain Morrison. Captain, we need to discuss this new threat immediately. Morrison's response came back within minutes. On my way to the command center, Admiral. When Morrison arrived, he was accompanied by a larger group of human officers than usual. Zektar noticed that they all wore slightly different uniforms, with rank insignia he did not recognize. Morrison's expression was more serious than Zektar had ever seen it. Admiral, I need to brief you on some information that has recently been declassified by Earth Command, Morrison began. The approaching fleet belongs to the Devourers, an extragalactic species that consumes entire galaxies for resources. You knew they were coming? Zektar asked in disbelief. Humanity has been tracking their approach for over a decade. They move from galaxy to galaxy, stripping them of all useful matter before moving on. Our galaxy is next on their list. Commander Carter stepped forward. This is why humanity developed our military capabilities to the level you witnessed during the Vorthak conflict. The Vorthak were never our primary concern. We were preparing for the Devourers. The room fell silent as the full scope of human planning became clear. Everything humanity had done, from their initial contact with the Coalition to their demonstration of overwhelming firepower, had been preparation for this moment. How do we fight them? Wright asked quietly. Morrison activated his holographic projector, showing tactical information about the approaching fleet. The Devourers have consumed 17 galaxies over the past 1,000,000 years. They have never been successfully resisted. Their technology is far beyond what any single galactic civilization has ever achieved. Then how can we possibly win? Zektar demanded. Because humanity has not been developing our military technology alone, Morrison replied. We have been working with allies from other galaxies who have faced the Devourers before. The holographic display changed to show a star map that extended far beyond their own galaxy. Markers indicated the positions of dozens of other galaxies, with communication lines connecting them in a vast network. The Intergalactic Defense Network has been planning this campaign for over 50,000 years. explained Colonel Patricia Barnes, one of the new officers Zektar did not recognize. Humanity was contacted by the network shortly after we achieved faster-than-light travel. We have been their advanced scouts and preparation team for this galaxy. You mean humans are not originally from Earth? Wright asked in shock. No, we are definitely from Earth, Morrison clarified. But we were contacted by refugees from galaxies the Devourers had already consumed. They helped us develop our technology and taught us how to prepare an entire galaxy for this fight. The tactical display showed the approaching Devourer fleet in detail. The ships were massive, some larger than moons. Their hulls seemed to be made of living metal that shifted and flowed like liquid. Weapon ports covered every surface, and energy readings suggested power sources that dwarfed even human technology. The Coalition fleet cannot face this threat, Colonel Barnes continued. But the Coalition will not be fighting alone. The network has positioned forces throughout this galaxy over the past 50 years. Positioned forces where? Zektar asked. Morrison smiled grimly. Admiral, how many human ships do you think are currently in Coalition space? Zektar consulted his tactical database. According to our records, approximately 50 vessels of various classes. The actual number is closer to 5,000, Wright said quietly, reading from her classified briefing materials. Most of them have been cloaked and hidden throughout the galaxy. The number was staggering. Zektar realized that humanity had not just been preparing the Coalition for war. They had been quietly building the largest military force in galactic history, right under everyone's noses. But even 5,000 ships cannot face a fleet of this size, Zektar protested. You are correct, Morrison agreed. Which is why the network has been preparing more than just ships. The holographic display changed again, showing a three-dimensional map of their entire galaxy. Thousands of small markers appeared throughout the spiral arms, each one representing what looked like massive installations. Stellar engineering projects, Colonel Barnes explained. Over the past 50 years, we have been modifying stars throughout the galaxy, installing gravity manipulation devices, quantum resonance amplifiers, and dimensional anchor points. You have been weaponizing our entire galaxy, Zektar said in amazement. The galaxy itself will be our weapon, Morrison confirmed. When the Devourers arrive, they will not just be facing our fleets. They will be facing a coordinated attack from every star system simultaneously. Wright was studying the technical specifications with growing excitement. The energy output from this coordinated attack would be equivalent to multiple supernovas occurring at the same time. Exactly. The Devourers have never faced resistance on this scale because no single galaxy has ever had 50,000 years to prepare and the assistance of refugees from 17 other galaxies. Admiral Zektar looked at the tactical displays showing the vast scope of the preparation, hidden fleets, weaponized stars, intergalactic allies, and technology that turned entire solar systems into weapons. Humanity had not just been preparing for war. They had been preparing for the ultimate war. So when the Devourers arrive in 72 hours, Zektar said slowly, they will be walking into a trap that has been 50,000 years in the making. Precisely, Morrison replied. And every species in this galaxy will have front-row seats to watch the Devourers learn what happens when they try to consume a galaxy that fights back. The countdown to the greatest battle in galactic history had begun. And for the first time since the Devourers had begun their march across the universe, they were about to discover what it felt like to be outgunned. Admiral, Morrison said as he prepared to leave for his ship, you might want to contact all Coalition worlds and tell them to dim their planetary lighting systems. This is going to be very, very bright. 3 days later, Captain Jake Morrison found himself on a small moon called Kythera. The gray rock floated in empty space between two star systems, claimed by neither the Vectari nor the Zephyrians. It was the perfect place for their first real meeting. The humans had set up a temporary base inside a large cave, Ambassador Claire Johnson led the human team, even though she had never met aliens before. Nobody on Earth had. Dr. Alex Turner, their historian, sat beside her with a computer, full of human history. They hoped to trade stories with their new alien friends. Commander Thessarian arrived first. The crystal being's body caught the artificial lights and threw rainbow patterns on the cave walls. War Leader Nexus came an hour later, his biomechanical form making soft mechanical sounds as he walked. "We have brought translation devices," said Commander Thessarian. A small crystal cube appeared in front of each human. "These will help us understand each other better." Jake picked up his cube. It felt warm and seemed to pulse with its own light. As soon as he touched it, the alien voices became clearer, like tuning a radio to the right station. "Now we can truly speak," said War Leader Nexus through the translator. "Tell us, humans, where do you come from?" Claire smiled and activated a holographic display showing Earth. "We come from a blue and green world with one moon. We have been on our planet for thousands of years, but we only learned to travel between stars recently." Both aliens studied the image with interest. Commander Thessarian's lights changed to soft blue colors. "Your world is beautiful. It reminds us of what our worlds were like before the war." "Tell us about this war," said Dr. Turner, leaning forward. "How long has it been going on?" The two aliens looked at each other. Even with different faces, Jake could see sadness in both of them. "The Great Convergence War has lasted for 3,000 of your Earth years," explained War Leader Nexus. "It began when both our species discovered the same star system." Commander Thessarian's lights dimmed. "The system had 3 planets. One was perfect for my people, covered in crystal formations that we need to live. Another was perfect for the Zephyrians, rich in metals and organic compounds. But the third planet had both. We both needed that third planet to grow our populations," continued War Leader Nexus. "At first we tried to share it, but our needs were too different. What was good for one species was bad for the other." Claire listened carefully. "So you went to war over one planet?" "It started as small fights," said Commander Thessarian. "But then both sides developed faster ships. We began claiming other star systems, trying to find planets that could replace the one we lost. The war grew bigger and bigger." Dr. Turner was taking notes as fast as he could. "How many systems are involved now?" "Nearly half of all habitable worlds in this part of the galaxy," answered War Leader Nexus. "Billions of lives lost on both sides." Back on the horizon, Lieutenant Commander Steve Parker was studying star maps provided by both alien species. He called Jake on the radio with disturbing news. "Captain, you need to see these numbers. This war has destroyed entire civilizations. Some star systems are completely empty now." Jake felt sick to his stomach. "How many people have died?" "I can't even count that high, sir. But it gets worse. Dr. Kate Williams has been examining the medical data both species shared with us." Dr. Williams came on the radio next. "Captain, both alien species are dying out. The Vectari crystals become unstable from too much stress and fighting. The Zephyrians have changed their bodies so much for war that their natural biology is breaking down." Jake shared this information with the aliens during their next meeting. Both Commander Thessarian and War Leader Nexus confirmed what the humans had discovered. "We know we are becoming extinct," said Commander Thessarian sadly. "But we cannot stop fighting. Too much hate has built up over the centuries. Our young warriors know nothing but battle," added War Leader Nexus. "They cannot imagine peace." Claire looked between the two aliens. "But you two are talking to each other peacefully, right now. That is because of you humans," explained Commander Thessarian. "Your arrival has given us something new to think about. For the first time in centuries, we have a reason to stop shooting at each other." Meanwhile, Ryan Bell was in his workshop, aboard the Horizon, studying pieces of alien technology that both species had shared. What he found excited him so much that he called everyone to see. "Look at this," he said, holding up a Vectari energy crystal next to a Zephyrian bioprocessor. "These two pieces of technology should work together perfectly. The crystal generates pure energy, and the bioprocessor can shape and control that energy in ways the crystal alone cannot." Dr. Turner looked confused. "If their technologies work so well together, why haven't they figured this out?" Ryan shook his head. "They've been fighting for so long, they've never tried to combine their technologies. They only think about how to destroy each other, not how to help each other." Jake brought this discovery to the peace talks. When he showed both aliens how their technologies could work together, something amazing happened. For the first time in 3,000 years, Vectari and Zephyrian representatives worked side by side on the same project. "This is incredible," said Commander Thessarian as he watched his crystal technology merge with Zephyrian biosystems. "The efficiency is far better than either technology alone." War Leader Nexus seemed equally amazed. "Our ancestors might have developed something like this if we had worked together instead of fighting." But not everyone was happy about the peace talks. Back in their home territories, war leaders from both species were angry about the meetings on Cathara. They saw cooperation with the enemy as betrayal. The first sign of trouble came when Lisa Grant detected incoming ships on her scanners. "Captain, we have multiple contacts approaching fast, both Vectari and Zephyrian ships, but not the peaceful ones." Claire looked worried. "How many ships?" 20 Vectari crystal destroyers and 15 Zephyrian assault cruisers," reported Lisa. "They're coming from different directions, but they seem to be working together." Commander Thessarian and War Leader Nexus both looked shocked. "This is impossible," said the Vectari commander. "Our species never cooperate in battle." "Unless they both want to stop these peace talks," realized Jake. War Leader Nexus contacted his home fleet, while Commander Thessarian tried to reach his people. Both received the same message. The talks with humans were forbidden, and anyone who continued them would be considered traitors. "We must evacuate immediately," said Nina Ross, the security chief. "Our ship cannot fight that many alien warships." But Commander Thessarian and War Leader Nexus surprised everyone. "We will not run," declared Commander Thessarian. "For the first time in centuries, we have hope for peace. We will defend that hope. The Warhawks from both our species think they can stop progress by working together," added War Leader Nexus. "Let us show them that moderates can also cooperate." Jake made a quick decision. "All human personnel prepare for battle stations. We're going to help our new friends defend this place." As enemy ships approached Cathara, something unprecedented was about to happen. For the first time in 3,000 years, Vectari and Zephyrian forces would fight side by side instead of against each other. And humanity, the newcomers to this ancient conflict, would help them do it.